Hi, I'm Sam Sells, and welcome to my podcast, Clean Money. I like to say investing matters, and my show is to talk with everyday folks that are not only creating great success, but making an impact in society and improving the lives of others. That is my mission, and I want to share my stories and others with you. Welcome to Clean Money. Hi, my guest today is Jeff Wright. Jeff Wright is the CEO and president of Agent Sales Group, growing his business from a one-man operation from home to a network of 20,000 plus agents with life insurance sales of over $25 million of new annual premium every year. Wow. His greatest pleasure comes from helping others succeed, which is why his firm provides products, sales training, and lead marketing services to the entire life insurance industry. Jeff, welcome to the Clean Money Podcast. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
For our listeners here, can you tell everyone just a little bit about your background and what it is you guys do now?
Well, Sam, I've never had a job, never in my life, other than working for my dad, who incidentally, today would have been his 81st birthday.
Oh, wow.
He died way too suddenly.
Oh,
and so I got started, working with him, and I was, he had an interesting business. He owned a grocery store. He owned pawn shops. He was a bail bondsman. He dealt with a lot of unsavory characters. I'm not going to lie. I loved him to death, but he was no Boy Scout. And he wanted more than anything for me to take over his business, to follow in his footsteps. And, I grew up in that world. I called it making money in the gutter is how I viewed it. And I just decided that wasn't for me. It's just something I didn't want to do. I didn't want to deal with those kind of people. I didn't want to just deal and make money off the misery of others. I just didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I struck out and went on my own. And I went to college. I started a commercial equipment leasing business. I was financing medical equipment, construction equipment. And in 1999, I sold that business. But in the interim, I had gotten really interested in the insurance business, had gotten some really good tutelage from some people here in Florida on how to pursue that business even further. So here I am.
Oh, that's great. I love that you changed, what the prescribed path was for you, perhaps by, your family and went a different route and made,
He and I didn't speak for 3 years after I told him no. For 3 years, he was so upset.
Wow.
But you gotta do your own thing. You can't live someone else's life. You got to live life on your terms. You can't live life on what somebody else wants, because you'll never be happy.
Yeah, it's true. It is absolutely true. Now, I mean, you can be happy working for an employer, but there's a difference between, getting forced into something that it's not what you want to do, and enjoying your life
Exactly.
doing something that you do enjoy doing. If you enjoy engineering and you love building cars, well, working for Toyota or Ford or something else like that is perfect, right? Great.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think a lot of these you see these really successful people, like take Robin Williams or Anthony Bourdain, people like that,
Yeah.
Who got everything in the world and they end up killing themselves. I honestly believe that the reason why a lot of these people do that is because even though they're successful, I don't think that they're successful by what they define it to be. They're 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 being pushed by so many other people to go a certain direction that they may not want to be in, and
Mhm.
even to the outside world, they may be really successful, but to themselves, they can feel like losers because they're not living the life that they want to live. They're living the life that someone else wants them to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an easy trap to fall into, particularly when you start finding a little bit of success doing a certain thing. And then you feel like you have to continue to do that certain thing to, to go on forever. But I I love that. So you coach and you help teach other people to live a life like the 1% do. What do you mean by that? What kind of people are you looking for to coach? And tell me a little bit about your program.
Well, it all got started a couple of years ago when our people couldn't go see people face to face anymore. So I started doing training meetings on Zoom calls, and it just kind of grew from there. But I've always taken the people that, Sam, you'll see that person that has that little spark in their eye,
Yeah.
that's a real go getter, someone that just needs help finding themselves and whatnot. And the biggest thing that I teach these people, aside from selling skills, negotiation skills, skills in developing relationships, and if building relationships in business and building relationships with friends and families, really no different. Um, it the number one thing starts with building the relationship with yourself. They talk about us living in times of scarcity now.
Hmm.
But what they're not talking about, where the scarcity really is people. There is an enormous scarcity of people with self belief, with self confidence, and keeping their word to themselves.
Yeah.
That's where the scarcity is. And I truly believe that anyone that can have self awareness, self confidence, and keep their word to themselves, they can make a living and they can thrive in any kind of environment, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've seen that over and over again, whether it was, on teams that I was leading in Asia, Africa, in the military, other places. Those folks who have that twinkle in their eye and have this belief that they can accomplish and go forth and do. They don't just dream about it. They don't just stay in bed. They actually get up out of bed and then go after it, right? They go after it.
Yeah.
People like that, any race, creed, background, gender, whatever it is, that's no limitation to them. There are constraints in the world that we will hit our heads against, and sometimes we have to deviate course and keep going. And sometimes we just got to keep pounding on it till we break that glass ceiling or whatever it is. But those folks find a way. Or and Jeff Goldblum was saying, life finds a way, right? So those people are going to be successful. They just need a little bit of mentorship. And I remember when I started in real estate 4 years ago, well, in real estate syndication and commercial real estate, I'd done real estate for a decade before then. It's, I thought I can do this myself. I'm going to go figure it out. And I did, but I made a ton of mistakes along the way that could have been avoided. And finally, a year ago, I got my life, I humbled enough that I said, okay, I've really got to find some mentors out there. And I was able to find a few mentors, and all of a sudden things have changed quite drastically for us. And the speed of progression is just has enhanced incredibly.
Yeah. Well, everybody needs help. Everybody needs coaching. I don't care who it is. I mean, right across the water from here is Tom Brady's house. I can see his house from my house. And guess what? He has a coach.
Yeah.
If you look at all these PGA golfers, Tiger Woods, all these people, I'm not a golfer, but they all have coaches. Everybody at the top of their game does, because you never know everything. The moment that you stop learning, the moment that you stop growing, you don't stay the same, Sam. You start going down
Yeah.
slowly but surely. And I one of the habits that I have every day is I read 50 pages of a book. Now, I'm a pretty fast reader, but 50 pages of a book, and I picked that up probably 10 years ago. If I
Mhm.
would have done that 30 years ago, oh my God, I'd be living
Yeah.
in Tom Brady's house right now. Uh, uh,
Yeah.
but you can't you can't change your beliefs until you change the information that you're taking in, and you can't take in new information unless you actively seek it. You can always have good intentions. There are lots of people that have good intentions, but good intentions don't mean anything unless you put action to them and actually do something about them.
That's it. Yeah. I'm, I scratch my head at a lot of the modern, you know, philosophies that have come out that have permeated into religion. They permeated into school. They permeated just into life. Is that, this idea that you can be 100% passive in life and be immensely successful. And it sells on social media. Look at my great life. And all I did was post a couple videos on YouTube and now I'm a multimillionaire. And that's not true. Those guys are hustling.
No, that's all bullshit.
Yeah, they just don't want people to know, but they're hustling. They're working super hard, right? You know that. I know that. And so I remember when I first went to, just one more thing on coaching. I remember when I finally said, okay, I'm going to pay the man 10 grand or 15 grand, join his program, his course, become part of his team or whatever. Um, and all of a sudden it was just, I was so reticent to do that. But then afterwards, what a difference, the past year has been. And just learning all these
Oh
things.
yeah.
I'm doing that wrong. Why did I do that? And I've more than made my 10K back and then some.
But you have to put into action what they tell you.
Have to.
You have to. It's the same thing as somebody going and buying a new treadmill and then they put it in their house and they think they're going to lose 50 pounds. That shit only works if you do.
Right.
Most people buy a treadmill and it becomes the greatest coat hanger you ever saw.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So true. And it's not just a treadmill. You can get on that treadmill and start walking, but if you don't do the entire system of eating right, and not go on some fad diet, but actually eat right and exercise and regular and consistent, that's where the marginal gains happen. And I was thinking about some of the things you said yesterday, and I started thinking this morning about the British cycling team. You probably know this story, 110 years, never winning the Tour de France, just a terrible a cyclist team. I don't terrible, so very, very, very marginal, mediocre. And they brought in a new coach 15 years ago, and he's like 1% better. We're going to do every single thing 1% better. The bike's going to be 1%. Every aspect of the bike's going to be 1% better. How we pedal is going to be 1% better. How we sit is going to be 1% better. Everything's 1% better. And all of a sudden now they're super elite bicycle team, and they've won tons of competitions and et cetera. And it makes a difference.
Well, see, that's why I talk to people all the time about having SMART goals.
Mm-hmm.
That's small, measurable, attainable, trackable, repeatable, or repeatable and trackable.
Yeah.
You don't, if you want to, if you haven't done push-ups in 20 years and all of a sudden you decide you want to start doing 100 push-ups a day, that's a pretty big goal. And you're going to get discouraged real quick when you sit there and try to do 100 push-ups. Try doing 5.
Yeah.
And then continue to do 5 until that gets comfortable. And then make yourself uncomfortable and start doing 7 and build yourself up. Because not only does that help you reach the goal, Sam, the other thing that it does is every morning that you actually get up and do those 5 push-ups, you know what that is? That's a win. That's a win in the win column for you. And the more wins you rack up, the more you're going to feel, the better you're going to feel better about yourself, the more confident you're going to feel about yourself. Because every morning that you get up, Sam, and you don't do those 5 push-ups, you procrastinate. There's 7 deadly sins. I think procrastination is the 8th deadliest sin.
Yeah.
Every time you procrastinate and you break your word to yourself, a little bit of your self-confidence erodes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's we'd say sins of omission, sins of commission, things you do wrong, and there's things that you should have done but didn't do that. So tell me a little bit, tell me about a mistake that you made in your journeys through business and life, and how you overcame that.
Oh boy, I don't even know where to start with that. But I could tell you the biggest mistakes that I've made have been not following what my gut told me. I'm a big believer. I tell people this all the time. People, my agents will call me up and they'll ask me, well, would it be ethical if I did this or if I did that, or would it be legal if I did this or if I did that? And my greatest rule of thumb is that if you ever have to question whether if something is right or wrong, if you have to question if something's legal or not legal, if you have to question if something is moral or not moral, walk away from it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it at all. It may very well be okay, but more times than not, you're going to have problems with that. And so, my biggest mistake, Sam, would be back when I really cared about what the opinions of other people were, back when I was trying to fit in and please them, and I got in a lot of trouble. I kind of had this perfect storm where anything that could have went wrong, and I almost lost my business, my house, my wife. I almost lost everything, and and when I went to these people that I was falsely holding in such high regard to help me, they were nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
So so I knew that there was no one that was going to pull me out of that hole but me. And my dad, who was a rough, tough guy, um, today being his birthday is making me think about this. I went to him and because I knew he could just simply write me a check and bail me out of everything all the problems that I had. And it was one of the best conversations I ever had with him. He was understanding, he was listening, he was agreeing with me. Yeah, that's bad that happened. Yeah, I don't see where that's your fault. La 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 la. He says, "Well, I'm going to help you." I said, "Thank you." He says, "Well, don't thank me yet," because he says, "You know what I'm going to do?" I said, "What?" "Not a damn thing. You were big enough to get in it. You're big enough to get out it. I am not helping you if I write a check. So, suck it up, get your ass out there, go to work, dig yourself out of that hole." And I did.
That's amazing.
It's the best thing he ever did for me. But you have to follow your gut. You have to do what that little voice is telling you is right or wrong. If you ever have to question, you really don't need to do it. You really don't. No matter what it does or what it is, you don't. You need to walk away from it.
Yeah, we found interesting. So we found in syndication, so the Security and Exchange Commission governs those securities when we syndicate an offering in an effort to protect individual investors, which is fantastic. Is exactly what we want to happen, and we're supportive of that. However, a lot of the rules are gray, and so I've seen the syndicators do things that don't violate the law, but I would say is questionable from an integrity standpoint or a moral standpoint.
Yeah.
And so just because don't use the law itself as, I mean, it's a guide, absolutely. But go to a higher standard. The law is the lowest standard of, what has to be done.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Your integrity is absolutely everything. And even not just your integrity that you have with others, but more importantly, your self integrity, the integrity you have with yourself. That is the biggest thing. I mean, life is way too short to be looking over your shoulder all the time. It's way too short. Why bother?
Yeah.
And if you keep your integrity impeccable, you're going to be looking over your shoulder a hell of a lot less often.
Yeah. That's it. We talk a lot about that as a team. There's nothing here that we want to do There's no amount of money that would make me want to go to jail or make me risk going to jail.
No,
I could stop right now,
no.
live very comfortably with my family, and not have to do anything in real estate. The reason we're doing this is because we care about the impact of what we're doing, and we care about our mission and our vision. But if it ever comes to something where it's like, hey, this is against the law, nope, 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 nope. Not
Now,
touching it.
let me tell you something. From someone who spent a childhood bailing people out of jail, there's nothing cool about going to jail. Nothing.
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 Not interested. I will suck it up, apologize, payback, whatever is needed. That's not a place that I want to go. I love my wife. I love my kids. I want to spend, and the rest of my family, and I want to be available to them for forever. So tell me, I think we've had this is just a really great conversations, and I really enjoy talking to you, Jeff, because the principles you're speaking about are true. They resonate. And a lot of times we get stuck in business. Like, I don't, I need to know how to make money. Well, first off, you need to right your ship and develop those personal habits. And coaching is not just about how to make money. It's also about how to live life so that you can make money the right way and be successful for a lasting and a sustainable, way.
Well, it's not just that. Like I asked you yesterday because you told me you were a retired major in the Air Force. Yeah, I'm friends with two Air Force 4-star generals,
Mm-hmm.
and they're both mentors of mine. And a lot, even though they may not have a whole lot of experience in business or really know a whole lot about what I do, where I really grow from them is just being around them. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, these guys are, you learn so much acumen and how to conduct yourself and things to do. There are so many things that I've done in building relationships just by observing what these gentlemen do that I would never learn watching YouTube or anything like that. So it's so important to have those kind of people in your life. And someone was telling me, asking me one day, he was thinking of going to some coaching program. It was like a group, but the admission ticket was $50,000. And he says, "Well, what do you think of that?" I said, "If you can afford it, you should go."
Yeah.
He says, "Why?" I said, "Because if you don't learn anything out of that, you're going to be around 100 other people that had $50,000 to be there with you.
Yep.
So all the all the all the friendships you can make, the partnerships you can make, the opportunities that can come just from being in the proximity of other people that have that $50,000 to be there, that's priceless, man.
Yeah.
Go. You should do it.
Yeah.
Could be the
Absolutely.
cheapest money you ever spent."
Yep. 100%. I'm a I used to I'm a convert, Jeff, to that mentality. I fought that internally, and then when I finally converted, I realized that it is so true. Spend that money,
Yeah.
get mentorship. If I would have had mentorship 3 years ago, 4 years ago when I started, I'd be in a completely different place right now, than I am now.
Yeah.
But
It's kind of funny, the more you spend on growth, and for me, the more I spend on helping people and doing stuff like that, the more it all seems to come back. And I live a really happy life. It's not perfect. It's very happy guy. Um, but people that I know, and I got a lot of dear friends that are cheap. I mean, beyond cheap. They sit at home and they polish their nickels. They don't spend any money on anything. They let opportunities go by them. And I really, do you know a cheap person that's happy, Sam? Because I don't.
no, I don't.
Really don't.
I know some people who have decided to live their lives in a way that um, revenues exceed expenses, so they keep their expenses low, And there's definitely a difference between keeping your expenses low and being cheap, right?
Yeah.
But they have time freedom and they go and do whatever they want with their life, and it's fantastic. They have a lot of peace and they're happy, and they're just fine driving around a 1992 Toyota Sienna minivan, you know that and that works for them, and that's great. Um,
There's
I
nothing
need
wrong with that.
nothing wrong with that at all, and they're super happy, and they built a huge nest egg for themselves and their family. And in fact, you can never get happy if you're on that flip side where your revenues of $5 a month exceed your, are less than your expenses of $10 a month. And that'll be pain all day long. If you have $1 million of cash each month and you spend $2 million of cash each month, you're in trouble,
Yeah,
right?
you're not going to last very long.
You're not going to last very long. So there's definitely a happy medium. Um, and I think in reality is just getting our lives right, making a difference, doing something that really brings passion to us. But maybe we have to do something for our money that doesn't bring passion to us, and then we spend the rest of our time doing something that brings passion to us, and that's how we get happy. Last question for you, and can you tell us one wild thing about yourself that not too many people know?
Well, 3 years ago, I got diagnosed with cancer, and it scared me to death. I thought I was going to die. Um, thank God they I had two surgeries. They got everything, no chemo, no radiation, nothing.
Wow. Wow.
All my markers, everything now perfect. But when I found that out, instead of crawling in a hole and crying about it, I booked trips, and I actually spent in 13 months. I spent about $500,000, and I went to 90. I visited 90 different countries.
Oh my goodness.
Went all over the place. Went all over the place. Yeah, and believe it or not, the I even went to North Korea, Sam.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah. I bought a tour, flew to China, and flew over from China to Pyongyang. It was the most bizarro world thing I've ever seen.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I actually went to North Korea for a week, and really happy I don't live there. But
Oh,
you have to get out and experience things. There are so many people out there in the world who are trying to give you their take on how the world is when they've never been in it themselves.
yeah.
So many of them. I went to South Africa, and some of my friends told me, well, they're cutting white people's heads off over there. They're doing this, they're doing that. Well, have you ever been? Well, no, that's what I hear on CNN. Oh, okay, well, I'll take my chances. It's probably my favorite country on earth, other than this one. If you're going to vacation anywhere, and if you got the time and money, go to South Africa. It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. The people are wonderful. Everything's great. But um, but that's the wildest, probably one of the wildest things I ever did was go on that tear of traveling and go see 90 countries if you can. The craziest thing of all of them, Sam,
Hmm.
we were we flew in a helicopter up to the top of the Fox Glacier in New Zealand, put on ice spikes, and was walking around the glacier for the Gilligan's 3 hour tour. A
Yeah.
storm comes in, the helicopter can't pick us up, and we slept on the glacier and stayed on it for 36 hours. And if
Oh my
nothing,
goodness.
and if that doesn't screw your head on straight, nothing will.
Yeah. Literally no hope of rescue, or until
Well,
the weather
I mean,
clears, right?
I knew they were coming back, and that's the thing. The biggest mistake people make is they listen to a voice in their head saying that things are going to be worse than they really are. And I have to tell you, of all the stuff that I've been through in my life, I have never ever experienced anything that was as bad as what my mind was telling me that it would be. Nothing.
Yeah.
And so I was actually keeping that in mind while I was on the glacier, and it turned out just fine.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. I reflect a lot about that, my experience overseas and people talking about poor America and how oppressed and all these things that poor America is. And
Oh,
I just think, have you been anywhere else in the world? It's
yeah. My wife grew up in Russia. They should talk to her.
yeah.
Yeah,
You want to see oppression. There's
yeah,
real oppression, and you know, uh, there's nothing stopping somebody who's poor in America from completely changing their lives. And there's plenty of countries where those people cannot ever change their life or circumstances.
yeah. There's nothing. If you live in this country, the only person stopping you is you.
Yeah,
That's all.
that's it.
Yeah. Is it going to be painful to step out of your comfort zone? Yeah, it will be. Is it worth it? Yes, it will be. Because the price of pain that you go through is a lot lower than the price of regret down the road of not doing anything.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I think we could talk about that for a long time. Um, 90 countries. That's fantastic. I've only been to 20 or 25 countries. Plenty more to see before
Yeah.
this life is over.
Yeah. If you can, you should get out and do it.
I will now that
It's the best teacher there is.
it is, and I'm looking forward. We had some trips. I was going to take my wife to Korea. I love Korea, especially Busan area, South Korea, Seoul. I take her to some of the
Hmm.
markets there and my kids, but COVID hit and everything just kind of slowed down. So now we're getting trips planned again and ready to go out and experience, life.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Yeah. A week before they classified this thing as a pandemic, I was on with American Express Travel, and I had sat there and booked $50,000 worth of plane tickets for the year, all uh, 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 all of them out of the country,
yeah.
and didn't go on one of them. None of them.
Yeah. 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 It hurt. We had to cancel our trip with the Seoul. We just kept extending it. And finally we're like, okay, well, let's just go to Hawaii instead because we can get there. And that worked out. It ended up being a great trip to Maui. But
Yeah, there you go. It's a
it's not
beautiful
Seoul.
place. No,
Still beautiful
Seoul's
place.
amazing.
Yeah. Seoul's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Thank you so much for what you do.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for all the work you're doing.
My pleasure. This is our passion project to impact other people's lives. And I know you are having a big impact on people individually as well through your company also. So how can folks get a hold of you if they want to reach out and find you?
The easiest way is my Instagram. It's the real Jeff Wright on Instagram, because I am the real Jeff Wright. I have a website, same thing, therealjeffwright.com. If they go onto that, they can sign on for a newsletter. We do video newsletters, uh, talk about upcoming seminars that we have going. We got one happening in Tampa next month. We're going to have a lot of really terrific speakers there.
Awesome.
I'm the easiest guy in the world to find, and follow me. If you have a question about anything, DM me. I answer all my DMs. I'm always available.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jeff. Really enjoyed the show. Enjoyed talking to you today and talking with you yesterday. Look forward to speaking with you again soon.
You got it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Take care, buddy. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Clean Money, where we talk about sustainable investing that improves society. We are passionate about creating great investment returns to investors who want to use their money to make a positive social impact in the world. If you enjoyed the episode, We'd appreciate a 5-star review. And if you are interested in making your investing matter, please connect with us at wildmountaincapital.com, or you can find me, Samuel Sells, on LinkedIn, on Twitter at Sells_Samuel, on Instagram at Clean Money Sam, or on Facebook. And finally, make your investing matter.